Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nighttime Show. I am Mike Glazer, here with head writer of the Nighttime Show, Matt Walker. Our guest today, you know him from Seinfeld, Everybody Loves Raymond, Dumb and Dumber, and he's the author of Maybe We'll Have You Back, Fred Stoller. And now, he had a nosebleed on the way here. Give it up for your host, Stephen Kramer Glickman.
Yo! Bringing the heat. We are here recording this episode live from my favorite Chinese restaurant, Genghis Cohen. Genghis Cohen on Fairfax. Come on down and you'll enjoy egg rolls and wonton soup.
And Jews.
So many Jews. This is an honor and a pleasure to have you here, Fred. I'm a big fan of you.
Wow.
Been a big fan for a very long time.
Let's put a stop to that today.
Absolutely. And your credits, your work is extensive. It's an extensive collection of wonderful stuff. Do you get nosebleeds, Fred? Because this is 2 days in a row for me.
You know, I get a lot of stuff, but I don't get why 2 days in a row? What's going on?
I don't know. I think it's a heat thing. I think maybe a heat thing and a cold air thing.
Could be brain cancer.
Could be brain cancer.
You might have too much blood.
Check WebMD.
I might have too much blood.
Be sure to check WebMD, and whatever the worst thing it says, that's probably what it is.
That's probably what it is. You're probably right. What's nerve-wracking to me is I told one of my friends yesterday who's went through medical school. I was like, I have I had a nosebleed 2 days, 2 days in a row, or a day. Yesterday was just a day. I had nosebleed today. He goes, well, did it come out of one nostril or two? I go, just one. He goes, then you're fine.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
It could be whatever. What was it that Ratso had in Midnight Cowboy? He had to have a nosebleeds, and then he died on the bus on the way to Florida.
Pretty sure that's
the end of the movie. I think that's what you got.
Pretty sure that's AIDS, and I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
Pretty sure I'm okay. But thanks for that. I appreciate.
And if you haven't seen that movie yet,
you should.
Should we cut that out?
Yeah, no. We just ruined Midnight Cowboy for our audience.
That he has a nosebleed at the end. That's the big spoiler.
Look, it's been 50 years, 40 years.
Yeah, if you
could
don't
spoil that
know,
one.
now you know.
That he has a nosebleed at the end.
That's like I was in my acting class one time, and something came up about Cary Grant. I was like, oh, he was great in North by Northwest. And somebody's like, oh, I never saw the movie. And I was like, oh, it's a case of mistaken identity. People think that he killed someone, and they wind up at Mount Rushmore. Somebody's like, spoiler alert. I'm like, that movie came out 80 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't seen it by now, it's too late. You can't complain about spoilers when something's been out that long.
It really, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
No one is going to argue that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You started out. Where did you grow up, Fred?
Excuse me. Brooklyn, New York. Where are you from?
I'm from London, Ontario, Canada. I'm an East Coaster.
Wow.
I love Brooklyn, New York. I lived in Brooklyn for a while.
Where in Brooklyn?
Cobble Hill.
I lived at the end, which is a different world. Like now, Brooklyn is like the show Girls and, Brooklyn Heights. But where I lived, it was like, I remember when the movie Saturday Night Fever came out, showing how racist and small-minded they were. They emulated them more. It was like, my Brooklyn is like Welcome Back, Kotter, that kind of...
Sure.
Yeah, that kind of
Where
Brooklyn.
were you exactly?
Sheepshead Bay. That's near Coney Island, near Bensonhurst Bay Ridge, the kind of, hey, Vinnie Barbarino kind of people. So, yeah, Brooklyn wasn't as hip and cool when I grew up in it. It was kind of small-minded. Well, I think Sheepshead Bay probably still is that kind of Brooklyn.
Yeah, I would love to cut together the show Girls with Requiem for a Dream. Because I believe both took place in the same neighborhood. And they're totally different. It's like it's that neighborhood is not, that's not even when I lived there, it wasn't an easy place. I mean, I lived there in 1999. Like 99 is before they cleaned up most of New York. I mean, I think we had Lion King, I think, by that point. But
New York or Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
Yeah, now Brooklyn, like I said, I haven't been to any of the new kind of gentrified, hipster parts of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I don't go to New York a lot lately. My mother's in Florida. And, but I'm going next week.
Now, when you were growing up, were there funny people in your family?
No. Maybe some cousin was dry or something, but my father was almost not mute, but he didn't talk much. I used to do a joke. My father's like Dustin Hoffman in the movie Rain Man, except he's not good in math. Totally. He really didn't talk much, and he was funny in a dry way. My mother's funny, not trying to be funny, because she's ridiculous and out of her mind. And
How so?
well, she's gets every word wrong and is just afraid, and just she says something is mind-boggling instead of and she
Sounds just like Steven.
and she'll like, if someone has twins, she'll go, are they from the same wound? Like, she gave birth twice, she doesn't know the word womb, so she's utterly ridiculous. She's funny, like, well, this is funny and sad. In 2008, she got mugged by a black guy. She goes, it doesn't stop me. I'm still going to vote for Obama. That won't stop. Like McCain sent black people around to throw Jewish ladies down to not vote for Obama. I don't know. But
Weird connection.
Turn your ringer off, Steven.
Oh, did my ringer
That's what I'm
go
trying
off?
to tell you. Yes, I heard it.
Oh, no.
I thought you were
When you got your
whispering,
text.
like,
That's what I
tell
was trying to tell you
Fred
to
not
do.
to talk.
I'm sorry.
Please continue, Fred. I'm sorry.
You know, I was opening for Norm Macdonald. I'm going on a tangent.
Please.
He's a good guy, but kind of rude. You sit at a table and he whispers to the person right in front of you, like he thinks he's not being rude.
Oh, yeah.
Norm's always
Like
struck
about
me.
me.
He's always struck me as somebody where like he doesn't necessarily understand the normal social conventions of how people tend to act.
No. Have
Yeah.
you met him or hung out with him?
I've just seen him. I've never actually met him. I've been in the same room as him, but I never met him. And it was just like he's kind of a weird guy. You just see him over there, you're like he's
bully.
Oh.
He's a good guy, but
Yeah.
it was. Let's just say I'm glad I'm not opening for him anymore. It's as crazy as you would think would be. So Brooklyn, New York. It was sad. It was like blacks were bussed in, and it was still so segregated because it just was. Yeah, I grew up in the late 60s, 70s, and again, it was. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, and I didn't know growing up Jews were a minority because we weren't educated, and all the Jews hated us because we weren't very observant. So they would
Really?
yeah, twice a year they dress up because of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but they would make my family feel guilty, like, hey, I'm gonna shake your hand, Freddie, even though you're practicing to be a goyim, and don't hang out with Freddie, he eats comets. So everything was us against them.
God.
The Schwitzes, the Schwarzes, the goyim, the mechechi. So I never liked that closed-mindedness. So they hated us because we didn't go to temple. I used to work in a place called Kosher King in Coney Island, not Burger King, Kosher King. And they didn't have hamburgers, they had beef burgers. And I helped set up this one in Brooklyn College, and I didn't know kosher meant clean. And a rabbi had to inspect it with his fingers, and you couldn't use the same different sinks. And I remember, maybe this is why the Jews on my block hated me. You couldn't use the same utensils with fish and
Sure.
this, and I got all confused. So that day, no one ate real kosher food when I was on the grill. But
the whole like separate plates thing.
there had to be separate.
Oh yeah, separate plates. So I mean, that's for like super Orthodox Jews. They have separate plates for milk and for meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Wait, you
and
put
even
milk
for-
on a plate?
But the utensils, just
No,
something.
no. I mean, just if they
milk
were
on a plate.
milk on a plate. That's a
Cheese, dairy
That's a
products?
Buddhist thing. That's not a Jewish.
But I used to see all the menorahs in the windows, and I didn't know we were a minority till I grew up and started getting punched. No. And sounds like a Kindler joke. The Jews got punched. I never ran into anti-Semitism till I worked in San Antonio, and people were screaming, "Hey, Jew, where'd you get your nose job?" Because I'm a Jew with not a big nose. That's my new one-man show. Jew with not a big nose.
Oh, that's great. That's a good poster.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Jew.
That's why he doesn't get
nose.
nosebleeds, Stephen.
Yeah, just a profile. I get nosebleeds just from.
Brooklyn isn't the sophisticated artsy Brooklyn I grew up in. Just they used to on the Bell Parkway dump the bodies, the mob, from Borough Heights. I forgot, but yeah, there were some neighbors that would walk their dogs and see dead bodies from the mob.
Have you seen a body?
I saw, not from any mob thing, just on one of my birthdays, I had a stripper with me, but didn't do anything with me. In here in L.A., and someone banged on my Tifka. We didn't hear from Tifka. And we went into a thing, and I thought she was looking at me, but she was dead. A lady above me died.
Oh, no.
And you were with a stripper at the time?
Yes.
Wow.
So nothing. The stripper screamed and ran out.
It's like Stand By Me, but with boobs.
Yeah, with shoes. Stand by me
So
with
why was there a
shoes.
stripper? There was a stripper. She was.
I met some stripper at a yard sale. Don't ask.
High class stripper.
Yes.
This is the greatest.
Selling her wares at a yard sale, and somehow we had a date. It was my birthday, but there was a thud above us. I didn't know what it was, and I guess Tifka died. And then her friends were saying we haven't heard from her. So then I used to live. There used to be my second apartment. There was the landlord lived there. He goes, I can't see a body. I'm a Jewish coin. I didn't know what he was talking about, thinking he's a coin. It's a cone. Some Jewish thing can't look at dead bodies?
Really?
You're shaking your head.
Is
Do you know
that
what
a
he's
thing?
talking about?
I was just hoping someone would know.
I'm the only non-Jew at the table. You have to
Yeah,
I'm a Jewish coin.
Google
I can't look at the body. You go in, Freddie.
We proved at our live show that Steven is a bad Jew a couple weeks ago.
I'm the worst Jew.
We had like a Jewish quiz.
And we had rabbis come up on stage and quiz us. We had
and you got
seven
like
rabbis.
1 out of 7 questions right or something. Yeah.
Jewish coin or something.
I'm looking it up. A Cohen. There's
Cohen.
Yeah, the Cohen. A Cohen.
Are you saying there's dead bodies in this Chinese restaurant?
Genghis dead body.
Hang on. Well,
Genghis
we're
dead
gonna.
bodies?
I'm gonna Google. I'm doing some Googling. You
Okay.
keep going.
All right. So I grew up in Brooklyn. And
So then, how'd you get into comedy? I know you write about this a little bit in your terrific book. Maybe we'll have you back, which everyone, by the way, should pick up and read. One of the best reads about
Get
show
out.
business you
Really?
could ever have.
Whoa, that's
that book is
an
fantastic.
endorsement. Could you go on Amazon and say that?
I think I did leave a review on it.
Oh.
So I'll make sure I did.
Could you for my new Kindle single? This
once
guy
I
has
read
good
it-
adjectives. Okay.
Once I read it, I will definitely leave a
Wow.
review. That one and Top of the Rock are my 2 favorite books about show business.
And what's Top of the Rock?
Oh,
That's the
such a
one
good book, too.
by
He's a
what's his name?
producer.
The guy who ran NBC for like 10 years.
Brandon Tartikoff?
After Tartikoff.
Warren Coolidge. No, Warren.
No.
Can't remember his name now.
Littlefield.
Warren Littlefield.
Yes.
Yeah. So he
Oh.
wrote a book about his era of running NBC and
That I
like
gotta
Seinfeld
read.
and all that stuff. It's really good.
Wow.
But your book is fantastic, amazing. By the way,
Well, thank you.
your story about Kathy Griffin, one of the best stories about show business I've ever read. But
Okay, I have the
we'll get to that
info.
later.
I have the info here about the Cohens.
A Cohen, all right.
All right, a Cohen. A Cohen. By the way, I am a Cohen. Just
And we're
case
in
you didn't know.
Genghis Cohen.
And we're in Genghis Cohen.
It's
That's
a
the
brother who
reason
makes
why.
cool movies.
Jews have an aristocracy.
Oh.
An aristocracy, however, without castles, but with titles, privileges, duties, and restrictions. Unlike most aristocracies, the Jewish aristocracy does not use formal salutations such as Your Grace, My Lord, things like that. For Jews, these aristocrats are known as Kohanim. The priests who once served in the original temple of Jerusalem, they were all Cohens.
So
They're not allowed to be in a room with
A dead body.
dead body. That's part of the thing. Also, they're known as they're it's passed down through generations that certain ones are certain people are.
He
This
claims
episode
to
of
be
Jew Talk brought to you by Hormel Thick Slice Bacon.
He claimed to be that kind of Jew. So what happened was, speaking of Brooklyn, I was pathologically shy and depressed. I didn't know where I'd fit into the real world. I liked seeing character actors on TV, but I didn't know how you became that. I thought you had to start on the Brady Bunch, like your parents had to get you into it. So I didn't know how you got into anything. So I remember I went with my older sister and some friends, even though I was underage. There was a club in Brooklyn called Pips. Not Piss, Pips, P-I-P-S.
Sure.
And this was 75. Wow. And Richard Lewis and Billy Crystal were performing there. And they weren't names yet, but I remember Billy Crystal was talking about season Nick tickets and having kids. And when he makes a living from this and he's not famous, wow. And you just talk. And my sister's friend, he was explaining about the improvisation, that there's a club in New York where Freddie Prinze, David Brenner started. You do your act, then you get on the Tonight Show, and then you got a sitcom. So that's how was my introduction of how you become a character actor on TV. You know, we weren't savvy back then. We didn't have the internet, behind the scenes and Hollywood, how these things happen. So I went, so even though I'm pathologically shy, I only have to get on stage one time at this improv.
Yeah.
I'll get on the Tonight Show, and I pictured being on the Tonight Show going, this is only my second time doing stand-up comedy. I thought that's all you had to do.
Holy shit.
So I slopped together an act. I'd listen to like Richard Pryor, Jimmy Walker, Freddie Prinze albums, and it was so god-awful. I thought you had to talk about coming from a bad neighborhood.
Do you remember like your first joke or like a joke that you said in your first
some
one?
of the jokes I did was I asked this girl out. She told me I had to gain weight. I told her, every time I look at you, I do gain weight, but it's all in the same place. Speaking of blood, I thought getting a hard-on means you gained weight. Maybe that's why they didn't laugh. It made no sense.
That's great.
I did jokes. Our neighborhood was such a bad neighborhood. They built bars around it. It was so stupid. I did one joke, two jokes that actually... One of them, the Jews, they, what good does religion do? They want to pray, they go to the Wailing Wall. What good does that do? It's like talking to a wall. It's all bad.
Oh, shit.
So
Wait, hang on a second. Glazer, what was your first? Do you remember like a first joke that you did when you first started?
Yeah, I talked about how my parents said don't talk to strangers, but then they got me a clown for my birthday, and nothing's stranger than a clown.
That's not as bad as my first jokes.
Well, if it's a competition, thanks. I guess I don't know.
No,
like
that's
it's not.
pretty bad.
It's not. It's
That's
really
good. That's
bad.
good and bad.
I did
bad.
one that someone else has done. My impression of Ed McMahon as a baby. Goo goo gaga. Someone has done
That's
babies. That one, I had some that weren't as bad.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Wait, Matt, what about you? Do you remember a first?
Not my first one. I remember that was really early that I haven't told in 13 years.
Come on.
Was it was right. I started like a little bit right around the time when Siegfried and Roy had their accident with the tiger.
Oh yeah.
And I said they interviewed the tiger and they asked him what it was like, and he said they're great. And I used to do that on stage.
Wow! Holy
Yeah.
shit!
That's like the Ed McMahon one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like that.
Yeah.
So I'd hang out. Then I got.
What were your first jokes, Steven?
Well,
Let's hear your embarrassing joke.
all right. Well, I got one. It was I used to date a Mormon girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a good idea to date someone who already thinks you're going to hell. That was the big joke.
That's
that was my
more sophisticated than mine, but were you older than 17?
What?
Were you older than 17 when you started?
He was 42.
I was 42 years old. No, I wasn't. I was 20 something, 25.
Yeah. Plus, in my defense, they're more sophisticated because they'll watch all these, sophisticated comedians
Yeah.
on YouTube. So I guess if you're new, it's not going to be as... Oh,
Yeah.
God, you can't say retarded anymore. But my act was pretty that when I started.
You can't call someone a Kansas City faggot anymore. They get really upset.
I never heard that term.
That's from
Blazing Saddles.
It's from Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
Yeah.
He goes, "Look at these Kansas City
Yeah,
faggots."
it's like you guys are
Oh,
hopping around
God.
like a bunch of Kansas City faggots.
And I have nothing but love for the gay community, and that has nothing to do with it.
But fuck you, Kansas City.
But fuck you, Kansas City.
Was it easier for you to be on stage and not be shy?
Yeah, once.
Well, no. Well, actually, what happened was, first of all, in those days, people would smoke cigarettes in clubs, so a big cloud. So with the lighting, I liked if I couldn't see them, and my head was down, and I couldn't look at them. So that sort of developed my persona at first. That my head would be down, I couldn't look at the crowd. And I'd make these nooses with the mic stand.
Oh my God, hilarious.
But yes, people, excuse me, don't get, I say I'm shy. They go, oh, you get up in front of people. That I could get up in front of people if no one I knew was in the crowd when I first started. Someone I knew was in the crowd. I did not want that. But people don't understand. What do you mean? Well, you sure in real life, but individually approaching a woman until last week, no. It's never been easy. Or stuff like they don't understand why you could be on stage, but you're one-on-one where it's more personal. Maybe that's why people develop characters so they don't feel as rejected on stage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, completely.
You know.
Were there other guys? Who else were you starting out with? Like,
Well,
who was in
I
that?
started it. I had a false start when I was 17, and it was too painful, and I quit for 3 years. So then in 78, I came back. I'd hang out at the Improv. I hung out with...
Wait, well, what did you do over those 3 years?
Well, it was too painful, so I went to community college in Brooklyn. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, but nothing. I worked at Toys R Us. I handed out, and I worked selling T-shirts after rock concerts, bootlegging, just college. Just
Sure.
I worked in Coney Island on a ride, scaring people in a tunnel. Nothing. Nothing. You know.
I just pictured it as like Fred Stoller would be like, "Boo."
Well, what happened was I'd have to wear a werewolf mask.
Okay.
And when they'd go by, I'd go, "Arr!" And then it was so hot, I'd put the mask on my fist and just, and then they'd spit at me. They'd know I was going to be there. So I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But then I remember, I think what happened was there was a few times when I was doing it when I was 17. I think they were laughing at me. But I remember thinking, hey, I got laughs a few of those times. Maybe I should try stand-up comedy again. It was, like I said, too painful when I was 17. So I said, but then I was like beating myself up. 3 years wasted. I could have made it. Now I'm 20, an old guy. 3 years I threw away.
Yeah.
Sure.
So then I put together another act that was a little bit. No, it still is ridiculous. But so I went to the Improv and they said, oh, you could start hanging out. So I'd hang out with Gilbert Gottfried. Who were the comics? Who did stand-up for a while? He called himself Stephen Buse, but it was really Buscemi.
Oh, really? Steve
Yes,
Buscemi.
Buscemi tried doing stand-up. And
Wow.
then he quit, but then became a performance artist. I saw him in a movie, L.A. Stories, where I go, that guy looks familiar. He was in one playing a performance artist with Nick Nolte. And then he really... blew up, as they say. But who else would you know? Robert Wall,
Sure.
Keenan Ivory Waynes. At the comic strip was Larry Miller, Jerry Seinfeld during the comedy boom. Paul Reiser, the famous story, was a guy who sadly passed away. Michael Hampton Caine had an audition for Diner, and Reiser tagged along to buy underwear, and they said, who is this guy hanging out? And he got to be in Diner, and he took off.
Wow.
In Long Island, there's a guy, greatest guy in the world, Rob Bartlett, and he's a sidekick on Imus. I'm going to do Imus. Eddie Murphy I started with. I was in Florida with him a week right before he got Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
Eddie Murphy.
So did you have much success in stand-up at that time?
Well, what happened was eventually the comedy boom hit full stride. And I was just, again, I was never funny.
This is
no
like
one said I was
82,
funny.
somewhere around there? Or
What's that?
Yeah, because
about what year? Would you say 82, 83?
Yes. Around
because
86
86 is when you did Letterman for the first time.
Yeah, 82 is when New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, the comedy boom exploded. And you could make a living in New York if you were anyone. There were guys, when I say living, there were all these $50, $60 Long Island bars, New Jersey bars. If you had a car, that was the thing, because you'd have to meet at the Improv, and the guy with the car would drive the other two comics. So some of those guys were god-awful.
But they had a car.
But they had a car, and they got by.
Yeah.
And there were all these... I was in a headline, and there were guys like the late Dennis Wolfberg, John Mulrooney, that really high energy. They were good places, Rascal in New Jersey, all these places. So I was able to get by, even as a middle, just doing, I didn't live a great life, but
The sad part about all this is I'm thinking like a $50 gig. Wow, who books that?
Yes.
How do I get a $50 gig in comedy
Yes,
these days?
so-
Hilarious.
So there were all these gigs. So I developed this act, these weird non sequitur one-liners, being the weird guy. So I was never a headliner, but I was able to get by, and so all that stuff, little by little, in the comedy boom. So I stayed in L.A. and New York, thinking, I'm getting on at Catch a Rising Star. Something should happen, but I eventually had to come here in '88 to get into acting and all that.
All right, so something I want to talk about real quick before we continue is sex. Having the sex.
It's a positive thing.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I know you're out there. You're having the sex, right? Which is good for you. Good job, pal. And Glazer, you've been with your girlfriend for what? How many years?
8 years now, and it's like still real fun. Like we have a great time.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so wonderful. So it doesn't really matter if you're just starting out or with someone, or if you've been in it for a while. Sometimes you gotta spice things up. Sometimes you gotta add a little spice to it. Add a little spice to it. I mean, and if you've been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult film, well, then I have the offer for you. You're gonna love it. You can't resist. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you get 50% off just about any item in the entire damn website.
That's fun.
It's unbelievable. Okay, and that's not all. Oh, no. Check this out. When you select your one item at 50% off, you're also going to get 3 free adult DVDs. That's right. 3 free DVDs. Also, you can use that for inspiration. Also, a free extra sensual gift. I can't even talk about.
I'm
on this
sold.
podcast.
So how do I take advantage of
hang
this
on
offer?
a second.
There's
to
more?
top it all off, free shipping.
Whoa.
Oh,
No,
nice.
this is no
All right,
joke.
now I'm definitely in. What do I have to do
here's
to
you go.
get this
So
deal?
check out adamandeve.com today for a special offer. Get 50% off one item when you use the code TNTS, as in the nighttime show.
Nice.
TNTS for offer code upon your checkout. And when you do, you're going to get 3 DVDs. You're going to get free extra gift. What? And you're going to get some free shipping. So just use offer code TNTS at adamandeve.com. That's TNTS, as in the nighttime show. TNTS at adamandeve.com. All right, let's get back into this. Now, but you did late show. You did late night with Letterman before you came out to LA?
Yes.
So how did that go down for you?
I did it twice. One time I did it the night the space shuttle blew up.
Oh, shit. Are you fucking
canceled.
kidding me?
Follow that?
Yes.
How do you follow?
Yeah.
National treasure.
No
That
one
was
saw it.
February of
so
'86.
Everyone canceled.
God.
Yeah. So January, I think it was.
January of '86. Yeah.
Yes. So no, people. I got it because people would cancel at the last minute.
Oh,
But
my
they'd see me at
God.
clubs. Oh, he's this weird guy.
Like we can't get Sally Ride tonight.
But that was the Letterman, the space shuttle was crazy.
Holy shit.
Wow.
How was the room? The room, it must have been
Very
so
morose.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Letterman such a show because I don't mean to be irreverent. We're going to do a show anyway. Here's comedian Fred Stoller.
Oh, God.
He's like, I'm not going to tell any jokes. Like,
It was funny. He went on Tom Snyder's show. Tom Snyder briefly had the 12:30 spot.
Yeah.
And he said the worst show he ever had to do was the night the space shuttle blew up. It'd be funny if he said it was because I was on it.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was the hardest
That's
show.
the weirdest.
I
love
think
it so
back in those
much.
days, he didn't cancel because it was before those scrolls with CNN and
Yeah.
every report. So they just did a show that day. It was
God. And how do you oh my
Yeah.
God. And then it's like the greatest thing ever that you're finally getting to do late night.
Yeah, it's hard because you can't say no because you think it's like this is inside actor stuff. You ever have it where there's an audition, you're wasting your time. It sucks, but if you have a new agent, you don't want to say no because some are cool, but a lot of they go, "Oh, we submitted you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's maybe it's not.
No, I got sent in for I don't know how often you get sent in for Disney Channel stuff, but for like live action Disney Channel, I'm sure.
Well, I used to. What happened was, I was Well, back when I was doing a lot of guest spots, it was network stuff. So you get spoiled because they used to rerun them. And then to go in for now you're better at them, you're more broader and high energy. But there's like no residual. So I was lucky. I went through a phase where I was doing those Disney and Nickelodeon things, but they were offers. So then you go, even to audition, I've auditioned for a few of them. You go, best case scenario, it's all right, but you make no money. There's no residuals, and you're there, and everyone's punching themselves in the head, and it's so broad. So I hate those Disney
and with your
things.
style, it's like if they want somebody who does what you do, they know who you are.
Well, what happened was there's that show Hannah Montana, which, and I worked for those guys. They that ran it for Suddenly Susan without auditioning. So with me, and they wanted me to audition, so I go, they know what I do. So with me, when someone knows me and I've worked for them, if they want me to audition, it means they're fans, but I'm not quite right for it. They want to see it. So I'd rather wait for something that's right. So I made up this thing, because again, I didn't want to piss them off, I'm turning this down. I made up that I was out of town, and they kept calling, going, when are you coming back? Because I didn't want to, I don't know if you remember this, but in Hannah Montana, they wanted me to play a moose with antlers. And I go, Fred, I've been around enough to know what it would be like. I'm the middle-aged guy walking around in a moose costume, and all these bratty kids would be running around. So that's too pathetic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
I get it.
You know what I mean? Like usually if you're middle-aged and you're on this kids show, you're a Mr. Bill. You're a practical joke. Like you're walking around with your shirt off. You know what I mean? You're the weird teacher.
Yeah.
So I go, I'm
You're
too
the butt
old.
of the joke.
Yes, I'm too old to be the guy, the pathetic guy doing that. But I got to tell you something, and I'm sure you go through it too.
Sure.
Where, if it's an offer, it's great. And now we're friends with the same guy, Drake.
Drake Bell.
Now, I didn't know it back then, but the way I did one Drake and Josh get recognized so much that, to me, as I'm older, one of the most fulfilling things to me is getting recognized to be part of someone's childhood. And if I did a few Wizards of Waverly Place, Drake and Josh, Ned's Declassified, and that to me is fulfilling. Again, when you're doing it, to have to audition for it, not so fulfilling.
Right. Yeah.
And if there's bratty kids on the set, but do you feel the same thing?
1,000%, yes.
To me, it's the most fulfilling thing to make a kid feel so good, or a 20-year-old.
Oh yeah,
that goosebumps. I have the same thing, like stuff. Bob Newhart, part of my childhood, getting to know Jack Riley, meeting people from Dog Day Afternoon, but you had that too, their childhood.
My favorite thing.
No, that's the best.
My favorite thing is going places with Steven where he needs to buy something like as an adult, like if he needs like diarrhea medication or something. We walk into like a Walgreens, and then the guy that he has to ask where it is recognizes him from Big Time Rush. It's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, because he's like, oh, that guy I watched on TV for 5 years gets diarrhea. That's
which you wouldn't think.
I love that.
Yeah, but that's 100% has happened with Matt in the room where I had to go buy something for hemorrhoids at one point or something, and I was like, I need this thing for hemorrhoids, and the guy goes, "Aren't you the guy who was?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding?" Yeah. And he goes, "Can I take a picture with you?" I go,
"Of your hemorrhoids."
Holding the hemorrhoids.
Yes.
Then we're in.
But yes, I some shows the kids are bratty. I got to say, Wizards of Waverly Place, they were so down to earth. It was really cool that I was hanging with Selena Gomez, and you see the iPhone light up, and it says Justin, and her friend is going, "Oh, he's playing games, don't answer him." Like, it's Justin Bieber. I'm getting all excited. So they were really cool, that show.
I mean, you watch someone like Josh Sussman. You know Josh Sussman, right?
Yeah. Oh, I work with him. He's a character. He's a great guy.
Yeah, like that guy is I've watched what's happened to him as an adult, and it's fascinating because women will come up to him. This is no joke. Women will come up to him.
My new agent could do a Josh Sussman impression. What a
that's not bad though.
That's pretty good.
Yes, and I like my tea, and I'm going out, and I get nervous. I'm interested. He told the story.
Solid.
He told the story. He was on Glee. For people listening, he's the guy with the big crazy hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so he was holding the door. And he wasn't that aware that Jane Lynch was behind him. He goes, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I would have held the door. And he kept apologizing all week. She goes, all right already. Christ. He goes, is that why I didn't come back?
that's so solid. That's a solid impression of him.
Josh Sussman impression.
Shit. So when you get out to Los Angeles, what is the general vibe when you get out here? What's it like? I mean, what's it like to move from New York to come out here? When did you arrive? You got
88.
Here in 80? Oh shit!
And you'd had moderate success. You'd done Letterman. You'd been on
but still
stuff like that. But
it's still like
you weren't like a star when you came out.
No. Well, you come here. And you don't get, you're spoiled in the comedy boom getting several sets a night. Mm-hmm. And you're out here where, every night Jay Leno comes in, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Seinfeld. And there's no paid gigs, there's no circuit. There's, we never had to do bringers, which I didn't do. So, excuse me, it's maddening because the depression and the anxiety of... as I wrote about in my book, you when you're in New York, it's stressful, but you always go, well, I haven't tried LA yet. Mm-hmm. So you go, once you're in LA, now there's no going back. This is it. Mm-hmm. This, you know what I mean? So it's fucking maddening where it's, how do I, you fall prey to manipulative acting coaches. That's why in LA there's so much people preying on vulnerable people like feng shui, acting coaches, bad managers, workshops.
Everyone's got a gimmick.
Everyone is looking for a magic solution. So it was, I was really, I'm neurotic as it is, and I had this girlfriend who got tired of me because I leaned on her like for advice and acting tips and how you have to score a pilot or something because again if you don't make it I'm not going back to New York. Some people do, but I was more passionate about acting than stand-up. My friend Jimmy O Yang, do you know him?
Yeah, great guy.
Absolutely.
He's a great guy. He's
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Just got a new deal yesterday.
Oh yeah, he's doing great. Yeah. So he's on Silicon Valley with TJ Miller, who's great, but TJ's one of those guys, he said, when Silicon Valley, he wants to move to New York and be like a Colin Quinn, Gary Goldman that does 8 sets a night. Those guys love stand-up. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
So, So the anxiety of... So luckily, I was with William Morris, so I'd go on pilot auditions, but didn't book anything for 2 years. And that came about, actually, with the David Brenner show. I was like his sidekick. I was like a Chris Elliott doing... There was a tape of it, and someone showed it to the late Brandon Tartikoff, and I got a $10,000 holding deal. They used to have these shitty holding deals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not the big ones, but little by little, I just started staying in town and just trying to audition.
Hey, so I as always, we always have Fireball whiskey with us whenever we tape an episode of our show. We had the Kaplan twins on. We gave them a bottle. We give bottles away a lot to people. Sometimes
it's good stuff. People like it.
People love that stuff. I actually have a bottle with me right here, and I'm gonna drink some of it. But if you listen when I open the top of this bottle, you can hear in the bottle. You can hear the Fireball whiskey talking, and it's
you can't hear Fireball talking.
Oh, you totally can. Hang on, let me take the lid off. Ready?
Yoga, the man. I could be the man.
There he is.
I'm gonna be the man today.
That's the
We're
sound.
gonna have fun.
That's the sound of the Fireball whiskey inside the bottle.
It's like encouraging you.
It does. Hey there, Fireball whiskey.
Hey man.
Hey, I'm so excited. I can't wait to drink you.
Man, Stick it. Get rid of all this small talk. Just drink me already so I can have some fun in your
All
tummy,
right,
bro.
get in my tummy. Get in my tummy.
Well, make it happen. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah. Oh. How is it down there?
Oh my goodness, dude! It's so cold down here. But like, dude, what the hell did you eat for lunch? Oh my god! It smells like dog shit down here, bro.
Oh well, hopefully that Fireball whiskey will make things smell just a little bit better in there.
I can't. I'm gonna have to hang out in your stomach for a while, make it smell good. So keep drinking that shit, bro.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna drink a little bit more. Here we go. A little more.
Yeah, we're having a party in Steven's stomach.
Drown out these horrible choices I've made.
Woo!
Oh, Fireball whiskey. Fireball, it makes you feel good and it makes your stomach smell better. All right, back to the show. Wow.
And then what was your first time on TV? Like, what was the first role you actually got where you got to be on TV?
As an actor?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first and only time I was ever a regular was my first job. It's because of Brand Tartikoff.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 4-episode show called Singer and Sons about a Jewish deli that only went 4 episodes. And I remember, I'm glad it was my first and worst show because the showrunner was trying to fire me. Brandon Tartikoff wanted me on it. So I don't know if you ever had this where it sometimes is a good thing when a network executive is pushing for you, but sometimes you get resentment from the showrunner because you weren't his idea.
Sure.
So he was trying to fucking fire me, the guy who created the show. He just did not want me there. But they resented that Brandon Tartikoff said, no, this guy stays.
Yeah.
So this guy used to give the craziest notes after a run-through. And one run-through, he gave me no notes. And someone who works with him goes, you're gone. I've worked with him. When there are no notes, he fires you. They were trying to fire me. So, again, I'm very grateful that it was such a bad experience. After that, every guest spot was a joy because it was a nightmare. So, but I got to work with Esther Roll on it. It's funny. The older I get, the more I use the expression "the late." The late Harold Gould started. The late David Brenner. The late Esther Roll. So
no, wait, real quick. It says on IMDb that your first credit is something different. And I just want to double check with you. Oh, is that
Big Man? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
so that was
basically we're going to read the plot of this. All right. This is
okay,
this.
All right.
This
I'll tell you
Here
why I don't count this.
Well, no, but were you?
So what? Okay, what this was a movie that was never released, where they had a montage of different people going, "Oh, I saw the monster over there," at like college students.
All right, here we go.
So it was just me going, "Yeah, it looked over there," and I pointed.
All right, here we go. Matt, you're going to have to put in some music for this.
Okay.
Some like instrumental music. Okay. Here we go. In this version of Hunchback of Notre Dame, a hunchback is found living in the bell tower of UCLA. He is put on trial and made to go through tests. One of the research doctors falls in love with him, and he falls for her in the end. Big man on campus. That was 1989.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was never released, you say?
I think it was.
Sounds like such a great idea.
Starring Alan Katz, Corey Parker, Cindy Williams. Oh, Cindy Williams was in it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I dated Cindy Williams.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
You dated Penny Marshall.
I did. Yes, that was a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
So then you started getting guest spots on a lot of shows that we all saw. I mean, you were on a lot of big
Lois
shows.
and Clark, Living Single, Empty Nest. I mean, and then
it died down. But during the 90s, there was sitcoms on every day of the week on every channel.
Yeah.
Like I remember on Mondays, NBC had a thing called Mushy TV, where it was Brooke Shields, Suddenly Susan, followed by one with what was her name from
Caroline in the City?
That was Thursday, but
the one with Nancy Jo McKeon?
yes.
I forget the name of that show, but I know what you're talking
Can't
about.
Hurry Love. So
Yeah.
there was so much more work on sitcoms because, like I said before, reality TV and game shows and Nightline and To Catch a Predator. There were sitcoms. They used to. I was on twice Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and there was so many sitcoms. Shows like Urkel and Sabrina would be on Nickelodeon now, but they were on network.
Yeah, at the time, like they were ABC Friday night shows.
Yes,
whatever,
Friday.
Full House would never in this day and age be on a regular network.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So then, do you have any of those shows that you were on that are sort of like your favorite? Like, what was your favorite guest spot on one of those sitcoms?
Well, I have different favorites for different reasons. Some my favorites because of the cachet of being on Seinfeld. And Raymond, but they weren't my funnest. What to me on Seinfeld, the thrill of being in Monk's Diner and waiting for them to go to action and sitting there and then walking, just to be part of that diner, just in any context,
absolutely,
is like, it's funny. My other scenes in Seinfeld, it was great to be on it, but my favorite scene was being in that pivotal, what's a great word to use for it?
Just iconic.
Set was to me amazing. The one where I was most starstruck. I loved the movie Hair. I loved Treat Williams. I thought he's the coolest. So I was on a show no one ever heard of, and just palling around with Treat Williams, a show called Good Advice, and Norm Macdonald is crazy. I had crazy fun working with him on the Norm show because we'd play tennis and hang out with Artie Lang, and he's just such a nut. So,
So now, before you were on Seinfeld, you were a writer for one season.
Yes.
On there, which is sort of what led to me reading your other books, because you wrote a Kindle single about that called My Seinfeld Year.
Right.
And then that got sort of enveloped into
the book
that is Maybe We'll Have You Back. But your stories about Seinfeld.
And the best showbiz thing next to Warren Littlefield.
Yes.
Just want to say.
Really?
Best showbiz
book. You should read that book. I'm telling you.
I absolutely love it. I love all showbiz books. That's why get to I wrote my other Kindle single.
So when you were a writer for Seinfeld, how did that come about? Why don't you just tell us a little about that?
What happened was, I knew him in the 80s. And as a matter of fact, I was there. He didn't say it to me, but he goes, let's see who could go the longest without masturbating, but you got to be honest. And so I knew him from a great guy, I don't know if you know, is Steve Scrovan. He's gone on as a writer. He's written on Raymond all 9 years. And he had a surprise birthday party. And I remember I went there, and a lot of these New York 80s comedians were there. A lot.
And did you know Larry David at this point already, or no?
Yeah, okay. From New York. And he came after surprise. I don't want to fucking scream out surprise. It's stupid. So everyone in 1994 was writing a Seinfeld spec script and bothering him. Did you read mine? He goes, how come you never wrote one? I think he got a kick out of me because I was, he liked to abuse me. Go, hey, you're a loser. You're a fucking misfit like me. And you never got laid.
Larry?
Yeah, Larry David.
That was his,
So then it turned into him. He goes, how come you never wrote a spec script? I go, I never liked the idea. I wasn't looking to pursue a career as a staff writer. I'm not smart, money-wise. An idiot. I didn't know. So he goes, all right, well, nothing will happen, but I will read it. And I wasn't going to do it, but then I thought there were people who would kill to have Larry David read their spec Seinfeld. So someone helped me not write it, but come up with the pagination. Do you remember screenwriting before final draft?
Sure.
It didn't and I didn't even have a computer.
Like you had to do it on a typewriter and make it fit that weird format. It
had to do something called pagination. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Where
you didn't even know the page number you were up to or something. But I had something called an ASAR. It was half computer, half word processor. It was like a half sort of a computer, but a typewriter. So a friend of mine figured out how to do the labeling of the scenes, and I wrote a spec script. And back then, they were, before they started hiring these Harvard guys that knew how to stay there, he was hiring a lot of stand-up guys like me who would eat out and spit out, eat up and whatever. So basically, the way Seinfeld works, as opposed to other staff, there's no table. Everyone is on their own. You're trying to get your own stories pitched to Larry and Jerry. You can't write until all 4 storylines are approved. And I was just on my own.
So you need a
it was
story
maddening.
for George, Kramer, Elaine, and Jerry.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can't team up with somebody else.
Not really. Everyone's trying to get their own stories on.
Yeah, sure.
The way I describe it, it's like a homicide division where everyone is trying to solve homicides, but they got their own cases. and I'm on my own. No one's really trying to help me. And they're just in their rooms with the doors shut, or they're trying to pitch to Larry and Jerry. It's always maddening and interesting, so that's why I wrote my Seinfeld year.
And you got one show that is sort of the one that's your own
Yes.
that got made, and you created one of the greatest characters in the history of that show, Kenny Banya.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that was based on a real guy. Do you know a guy named Bruce Smirnoff?
yeah.
That's before your time.
I know that name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He gave me an Armani suit. He lied. He said it was $1,000. It doesn't fit him anymore. He says, just take me out for a meal, and we're even. So we go to Jerry's Deli. He just had soup. He said, I'm going to save the meal. And then he kept bothering me. He wanted a better meal. So that became my Jerry story.
Amazing.
Does soup count as a meal? Which, by the way, my new Kindle single, something similar happened with that.
Really?
Should I go into that?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So I have a new Kindle single, and I'm only looking because they did the subtitle, but it's called 5 Minutes to Kill. It's about the 1989 HBO Young Comedian special I was on. You like showbiz stories, so this had such a diversity of trajectory of careers and lives to 6 comics. Now, a lot of young people, how old are you?
Right now?
Yeah. Oh, you're not young enough where you feel funny saying your age.
No.
Okay.
How old are you?
How old are you, Mike
Glazer, how
All right,
old are you?
I'm going to be 30 in a year.
Okay, you're a young guy, and that's
right.
young. But a lot
No,
of
it's
young
not.
people don't remember that HBO used to have these young comedian specials.
They were great.
That were launching pads. This is before. This is even before Hulu, Netflix. This is before Comedy Central.
Yeah.
This is the 80s, no, 70s, 80s, and a little bit of the 90s.
Was 89 after the Rodney Dangerfield
Yes.
3 that they did? Okay.
Those were real big ones.
Yeah.
So these young comedian specials, they launched Kennison,
Dice,
Dice,
Roseanne,
Seinfeld, Roseanne, Louis Anderson,
everyone. Yeah.
Saget.
Larry Miller. Was
I
he one of those?
don't know. Did Larry Miller do
He was
one?
on one of those specials in
Stephen
like 82 or
Wright.
something. Yeah.
So these young comedian specials were really big. And I did one in 89, the 13th annual one. Excuse me. So I always found it was interesting what happened to everyone. Two of them made it big. Rob Schneider and David Spade made it from the special.
Is that went from that to do an SNL?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then it was hosted by
Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
So there were other people on it who, I decided to, excuse me, to try to interview wives, widows, managers, club owners, of all the people on it, like what happened to all 6 of us after our quote-unquote
So
big
who were
break.
the other 4? Or the other 3 besides you, Rob Schneider, and David Spade? Who were the other 3?
Okay. Drake Sather, who you probably never heard of. Warren Thomas, who you never heard of. Jan Karam, who you may have heard of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jan Karam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically...
She also was on Seinfeld.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I interviewed Rob Schneider, he said something. He goes, the interesting stories are the ones you never heard of. So you know what it's like? Do you guys follow sports?
Yeah.
Sure.
I make it in...
Not at all. Not at all.
Here's maybe a
Steven
funny
said sure.
story.
I was like,
I'm a lying second.
I'm explaining the story to someone. He goes, yes, water.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll get your water.
Okay.
Hey, Robbie, go get him some water.
Well, thank you so much. Coffee.
Thanks, Robbie.
Robbie walked in. He'll be on our next
You
episode.
sexy bastard.
Yes.
So basically, it's like those 30 by 30s. Like what happened to the Wildcats, the
Yeah.
Big Five, Jalen Rose and Chris Webber made it big, but one of them, and I'm just throwing out examples, got shot. One's just a high school coach.
Yeah.
One guy, he goes, I'm a high school coach. I went, okay, sorry. That's a good thing. No, he's the happy one.
Yeah.
No. So it's sort of like analogous to the, like, these are the hopeful 6.
Yeah, because of those 6 comics, you have 2 who became, I'd say, pretty big name stars, David Spade
and Rob Schneider.
2 people who have a very successful long-running career, you and Jen Karam, and 2 people who sort of were never really heard from.
Yes, and I don't want to give away why you never heard from them, but it's very. But Jen has her. She would argue she's not successful, but she's had a lot of drama and like the triumph and the tragedy of that.
Well, I'm lucky.
special.
I've worked with 2 of the people from that special, with Fred Stoller and with Jan Karam.
Wow.
Done shows with 2 of them.
Well, now I want to read it. Where can people get it?
They could get it on. It's only $1.99, like my Seinfeld year. It's these Kindle singles, and you just a lot of people go, I don't have a Kindle. You could
do it on your
download
phone.
it on your phone, your laptop, your desktop, your iPad.
Yeah.
And so it's.
Do you feel like you're going to write the rest of the? Is there going to be a book that this is going to fit into at some point, or like?
What do you mean?
Like
Sort of like your last one, how you took Seinfeld year
the Seinfeld year and then you put it into.
I haven't thought of that yet. This story is more. It stands on its own, but there could be a follow up. There could be stuff. So what happened was. I was trying to. I'm not as good as you tracking. I tried doing a podcast. I hate bothering people or tracking them down, so I stopped. You're good at it, you know. Excuse me. So I was tracking down people, trying to get all these interviews, and there's one guy. I won't say who, but I interviewed him, and he was like Kenny Banya, where he said, "Let's go to Nohu in Malibu." So he goes, I'll take it easy, and he just got appetizer. It was $70.
Jesus
So then he goes, hey, I just thought of some other stories. Meet me at Waffle. So I pay for his eggs and waffles. So he's like milking this, like holding back stories.
Oh my God!
He's like, it's like when a detective on one of those shows is like goes to the drug dealer, like, hey,
Yes.
we need some information. He's like, oh, well, if you give me $100, I'll give you some.
So
info. And then they give him
then-
$100. He's like, well, if you want to know the real story, you gotta pay me another $100.
So then he did something where he texted someone who texted Rob Schneider, said, I'll talk to Freddie. So Rob Schneider, great guy. I met him at, what is that? Where did we work with Felipe? I blocked
The
out.
Brea Improv.
Not Brea. There's maybe you weren't.
Because we did Brea together with Felipe Esparza. It was the night of Clayton Kershaw's no-hitter.
There's another improv that looks just like Brea. What's the other one that's off the
Ontario?
Ontario. And excuse me. What the hell was I saying? Oh yeah. So he goes, I set you up with Rob Schneider. Now I want a real meal at Nobu.
What the fuck is that about?
Fucking, I go, you're just like Banya. He goes, hey, you benefited. I want to benefit. So it was. There's
cool.
almost a book. There's almost a book about me trying
to get the internet.
trying to get this book about all the people. Some were nice. Some yelled at me. Some wouldn't do it. Some paid for my meals.
Oh, Robbie's brought
Thank you. Water boy Robbie.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
wow. Thanks, Robbie. Robbie bought a big jug of water.
Less coughing.
Robbie, you are a jug of water. That's what you are.
Juggalo.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, it was fun interviewing people. I made some new friends. Some I was friends for a while with, but then they kept demanding more food.
Jesus Christ.
So what's your writing process like? How did you decide to write this Kindle single?
What happened was, I always liked the idea of, it was the 13th annual Young Comedian Special, and because of things that happened, I thought, is it cursed because it's 13th? Like some bad things happened to some of the people. And I liked the story, but I wasn't sure. But then I had success with my Seinfeld year, and I was trying to think of other things I thought this could be a documentary, but I don't know how to bug. I'm not a filmmaker like you, where you know how to do shots, and then I've tried doing films and documentaries, and you end up arguing with the DP. He wants to do it differently. And so then I said, maybe, and I pitched this to Amazon. I wrote the thing. They said, oh, we like this a lot. So then I said, okay, all I have to do is, I was like a detective, bugging people, interviews. Some people, I wasn't looking for dirt on David Spade. The pathology is the guys you never heard of. So some people are very protective. I'm not giving up Spade. You know, I go, no, I just want to talk.
All the stories about Spade are already out there.
Well, yes, and he's the contrast.
Yeah.
Him and Schneider are the good life, the opulence. You know, and
I think it would make a great documentary.
Absolutely.
I think they would totally go for it. I just watched a documentary on Netflix called the best worst show ever, and it's called about Merrily We Roll Along, the Stephen Sondheim musical.
I gotta see that.
And how the cast of that show on Broadway, they were all like 17, 18 years old. They were all kids, and it flopped hard. And one actor in the ensemble was Jason Alexander.
Oh,
wow.
And then
Incredible.
years and years and years later, it became the show that was the cheapest for high schools to put on.
Wow.
So it got this massive like cult following, and so they decided to remount it on Broadway with the original cast, and Jason came back. And it was all about, and like Hal Prince, the director, and Sondheim never spoke again after it flopped, and so the two of them came back together and are currently working together again. And it was all about, but it was interesting because it was only one person that had become very, very successful from this cast.
Well, maybe this will lead to
I
it.
think it's the same kind of vibe. People like that. They like
Yeah.
knowing.
Well, hopefully they'll like this Kindle single. It's only I like it. It's $1.99. I don't feel guilty. Like, hey, you spent too much money. When I used to headline, I used to feel sorry for the people waiting online to see me headline, like I'm their weekend.
Oh God,
no
you're
confidence.
So funny.
But
It's like there was like I always wish that I have the confidence in stand-up of like a 6-weekend open micer who thinks that they're a genius. Like I'm like
yes.
I wish I had that feeling on stage.
well,
ever.
I was the guy that did okay. Was asking people to reassure me I didn't bomb, when there'd be the opposite. There'd be guys that bombed that I killed.
Yeah.
I wish I could be those guys.
Were you aware that you were growing this persona as you were doing it, and that you were going to carve out a very specific, like, people were asking for you because of what you're able to bring
You mean
into
in acting?
I think you could even say there's a Fred Stoller type.
Yeah.
I've
I would
auditioned
say
for those and
absolutely.
not gotten them. I auditioned
God,
for a
hilarious.
voiceover. It says, example, Fred Stoller, not gotten it. But with stand-up,
Shit.
I did this. My act was very specific, but then I grew out of it, and I was doing an imitation of myself, and it didn't feel natural. A lot of people say, oh, you watered down your act, used to be more weird. But it didn't feel right anymore. I wasn't as depressed with my head down and, and that weird stuff. There's a lot of stand-ups that do a character. I would say names. I'll tell you later.
Well, even, I mean, look, even
But it seems so contrived, like I'm a weird guy where it's too in your face. Where there's, you know what I mean, where it's like, I'm not buying it. But so I didn't want to be that guy. But with stand-up, or with acting, like I said, with Hannah Montana eventually gave me a part that I was right for. When I'm really right, I don't have to audition if they know me.
Right.
But I know when they know me and they want me to audition, means we like Fred, but let's see what he does with this. The same thing happened with, what's that show with Brad Garrett, Till Death? Where I auditioned, this is funny, and I see like a black guy, Phil Lamar, who I'm sure you know.
Oh, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, all right, it's good. They're bringing the black guy. Then I see 5 other black guys. They wanted to go black, but for some reason they say, throw Fred Stoller in. They wanted a black version of me. So,
Isn't it like that in auditions? Where, like, you go in and either everyone all looks the same and you stand out and you're completely different, or you go in and you're just one of everybody who all looks the same. It's like, well, how are you going to pick?
yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So eventually there was another part on Till Death where Brad Garrett goes, oh, and Freddie. That's my Larry David impression. I use that for Brad Garrett and Rodney. But, Yeah, but I'm enjoying writing. I'm hoping this does well because I like writing, like Seinfeld and this kind of stuff.
We'll definitely.
Are you doing much stand up these days or?
No. You can't really dabble. I saw you, Stephen, and you got to hang out. And it was funny because I want to go on the big podcast, Joe Rogan, but I learned Joe Rogan has no idea who I am because there was a night at the store where you were hanging out back there, and it was like Speedweed night. Mm-hmm. So it's all these stragglers smoking free joints. And then there were strippers, porn stars. So,
oh, sure.
So I felt, I'm back there going, hey, Joe, I really appreciate, you, because I got into weed late in life, taking the cigarettes. So, yeah, whatever, dude. And he thought, not that I'm great or anything, but no, he thought I was just some schmucky guy smoking free joints. I was. Why am I anything more than that? But yeah, so you got to really be in the scene. And even Flappers, I hate that place.
Yes,
sure.
Because that to me, and I don't care if they hear me say it, at first I came back to stand up and was touring with Norm. I stopped that. But I thought, Flappers, I was opening for Darren Carter for free.
Great guy.
And then she replaced me because I'm too low key. So, and I'm going, I'm for free, I'm getting fired, but Flappers is a place where it looks like a comedy club, but it's the nicest open mic.
Beautiful venue, run
but
poorly, where their business model is to make money from comedians instead of make money with comedians. From
I just reported them recently to the
was that the thing with
the labor board,
the anti-Semitic stuff, or
no, that was a couple years ago. I just reported them to the labor board.
You know what's wrong,
and they wrote back and said that they're investigating them.
They now advertise.
Could you send me that stuff link? I want to read about it.
Because now what they're trying to do is they advertise. Like I get their emails like once a week.
Well, it's like Scientology. Sorry to interrupt. Where you have to go on their list. And when I first started going there, I'm doing well in the Yoo-Hoo room. Then I go, this doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because everyone in there is someone supporting another comedian.
Yes.
So they're all amped up.
Yeah.
And they're friends. And to get on stage, most of them, I was wondering, why is Darren Carter and Jen Karam the only ones I've heard of there usually? It's usually people you have to take their class, or you have to bring 5 people. For every person, you get 2 more minutes.
Yep.
It's gross.
The California Department of Industrial Relations that protects the well-being of 18 million wage earners and helps employ and comply with state labor laws, the DIR.
Because what happened was...
I reached out to them.
About what was your complaint?
Okay, so Flapper sends out emails like once a week with all their stuff, and one of the things they constantly are pushing for, they're always looking for interns and other people who are employees, and they basically say, you're going to come in, you're going to do office work, and we're going to compensate you with stage time, which is not legal. You can't have people work in your office and pay them with stage time.
This is verbatim. Want stage time this weekend? We need callers. Come in and call guests to offer them tickets to see shows this weekend. Get 5 minutes on one of the weekend shows. 1 4-hour shift of calling equals 5 minutes.
So if you come in and do 4 hours of work in their office,
Flappers.
then they'll give you 5 minutes on stage. That's what they're advertising, and that's why I have a problem with that.
No, I was going there, and then when I got fired. This is a funny thing. Not fired, but they brought in some guy. Maybe you know who he is, and he goes, "I'm here." He announces it like, "I'm here to praise Fred because he's too low key," and like the Batmobile. We got an emergency. So it's funny. Her looking through the Rolodex. Nice guy. But who can make up for Fred is this guy, Greg Hahn, who pours beer on his head, flaps on the stage like a fish, punches his head. So it's like, who on...
that is the opposite of Fred.
Yes. Again, if you want to, don't sue, I'm exaggerating. He's a great guy. He's going to go, I don't punch myself in the head. No, he's a great guy, and he kills. But she looked for the most extreme high energy to make up for me. Yeah. So, again, it's like Scientology, where... Oh, and I don't know what got me started with that, but
it's okay. We're a non-flappers podcast. Everybody knows.
Screw that club. I'm surprised I'm not banned by them yet because of all the stuff I talk about them all the time. But
I really like Barbara. She was very sweet to me, but it just felt yucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, you know what? When I was first starting
and
out,
they have in the bar and here and the 3 on the roof in the parking lot is open mics.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was first starting out, I would go to this comedy club called God, what was it called?
Ha-ha.
Jokers.
Up at Universal City.
What was that thing called? Do you remember?
Bonkers.
Bonkers Comedy Club.
Oh,
Remember Bonkers Comedy
good
Club
name.
and Universal City Walk?
No, I remember.
Bonkers with a Z.
I remember
that is
I'm looking at the
wild.
John Lovitz one, which looked gross with that.
This was
big
before
crazy-
John Lovitz.
Before Lovitz.
Yeah, there was a club there called. It was an offshoot. There's a small chain in the southeast called Bonkers.
Yeah.
And they had one in Vegas and one at Universal City Walk. And the one in Vegas became the Louis Anderson Comedy Club.
Yeah.
At the Palace Station or whatever casino that was at.
Yeah,
But
and they hired me for a job there. I mean, this is when I was first starting, and it was to hand out flyers, and I had a megaphone, and I would stand on the boardwalk, and on the main drag, and I would go, "Hey, everybody, come on!" And they paid me maybe $5-6 an hour
Yeah,
or whatever.
minimum wage.
It was minimum
Yeah.
wage, but they paid me something, and then because of that, I would get to do stage time, but they paid me for it. And that's a different story. It's like if you want to do that kind of stuff. I mean, in New York, there's guys who stand out on the street and hand
Bark
out
for
flyers
stage
For their own
barkers
shows.
and stuff.
Yeah.
There's choices, but I also
When I
feel
did,
like it's
when I
wrong in
opened for
some ways
Norm at
that.
Irvine, there was a black guy called Happy. His name is Smiling Jerry. Great guy.
Friendly Frank.
Friendly Frank.
Wow.
And,
Yes.
and he would hand out, if you have your own show,
Yeah.
Keith Resner does that. He hands out. That was my long-winded question about why don't you stand up. It always feels yucky. Even opening for Norm Macdonald, there's a weird, as classy as it is, a comedy club. It's still, can I have a T-shirt? No, you're the middle. You're in the green room. All these other stragglers come and they bring their girlfriends to impress them. They know Norm Macdonald. There's just a weird
Meanwhile,
sleaziness.
the solitary, you can just write. You can just stay home and write, and you don't need permission,
Yes,
and you can do whatever you
exactly.
like.
That's why I did this thing first as this rather than try to make it a documentary where I had to talk to people, and enough people talked to me where I got the story.
I love it. And I think it would make a great documentary as well. I think
hope
someone
so.
should
I
do
would
that.
buy tickets to hear you read these on stage, to be very upfront.
Yeah,
I
you know
would do
what?
that.
I
Well,
would
we may
too,
do-
man. That's a fucking great idea.
A live reading of that, yeah.
Yes. Dun,
Or
dun,
maybe
dun.
with footage. That's not a bad idea. I thought it at
Yeah.
maybe a one-man show where I tell a story.
You could show their set from the thing and then talk about what happened to them and then show the next set and talk about them. That'd be
I
kind of
thought
cool.
of that.
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
A little Q&A at the end. Boom.
Let's
To the
produce
Writers
it.
Guild.
To the Writers Guild we go.
Register.
Yes, thank God. Fred, what's anything else you want to talk about before we wrap things up? I mean, look, we did not get into Dumb and Dumber. We barely touched on Everybody Loves Raymond, but you have such an
Great to
extensive
read in the
career.
book.
They're so damn cool.
All that's coming up is I'm going to go on other podcasts, push my Labor of Love, this book, Kindle single. And I'm very happy. This feels the most creative stuff I've done.
Beautiful.
I love getting voiceover work. I love the acting part, but it doesn't always feel as creative as writing your own story.
Yeah.
And I think with stand-up, I can't be as creative. You can't go as deep. You got to, they're drunk. You got to get them. You got to, it's Irvine. Yay, they're packed.
Yeah.
It is. See Felipe. So I like something like this to be more conversational.
Well,
Nice.
you're such a talent and
Thank
such a
you so
fucking
much.
sweet guy.
Could you text me that Flappers?
I
thing?
will.
That ad?
Absolutely, I will.
That is classic.
You better believe
Where
it.
it's like, where you get 5 minutes for every call.
5 minutes for 4 hours of work. Unbelievable.
That made
What a
coming here
deal.
worth it. I can't wait to get
So
that.
good.
Send me that.
You get
So
the light
good.
at 2.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
you can end early.
Yeah. All right, Glazer, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, geez, Louise. I'm on BuzzFeed Hi Guys. I just met a monkey, and that's a really good video.
I didn't meet you before, have I?
I don't know.
There's
I don't
another
believe so.
guy. No, you're not him. You would have
No.
said you know me.
Yeah.
Who was trying to get Bonnie someone to blow him.
Oh, no, that wasn't. Well, that might have been me.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but it wasn't.
Hang on.
Glazer, what's your Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
At Glazer Boo Hoo Hoo. I just broke 13K thanks to a glorious tweet about cum. So feel free to follow
Well,
me.
besides cum,
on
can you
there.
tweet my Kindle single?
Absolutely, I'd love
Absolutely,
to.
we'll all tweet it and we'll tag the we'll
all
tag
do
it in our post
Oh,
for
good,
sure
good,
about
good.
the
Absolutely.
episode.
And I made a sale. He bought it.
Matt, what about you? Where can people find you? Pat?
You can find all my links, everything I'm doing at funnymatt.com, or if you were annoyed by anything I had to say, please let me know at mattwalkersucks.com.
And they do.
Yes.
And they do. And Fred, where can people find you if they want to check you out on the internet?
I have a Facebook that has 5,000, but there's a Facebook fan someone started thing, and Twitter Fred_Stoller.
I love it. Oh, that's wonderful. You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Yes, Mike?
Nighttime show?
Oh, yes. And of course, the nighttime show, the live late night show version of this podcast is at the Hollywood Improv. Of course, everyone knows it is May 27th at the Hollywood Improv
With Helen Hong.
Helen Hong, Maz Jabrani, lots of other wonderful, wonderful people
from
being
Superior
added.
Donuts.
Yep. And it is going to be a big, big night. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we're giving away 100 shots of Fireball whiskey throughout the night, as well as lots of other amazing prizes and magical stuff. So stay tuned for that, guys. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast
Leave us comments.
and leave us comments and
Rate the show.
Yeah, tell your friends, for Christ's sake. All right? Please do. All right, we love you guys so much. Thanks for
Thank you so
checking
much,
it
Fred.
out, and thanks so much for coming. Peace.
Destined to